Namaskar. In today's class, we are going to be discussing the poem The Frog and the Nightingale from class 10 CBSE Communicative Literature. Okay, and in this poem, you will get it's a one-shot explanation where you will get the complete details of the poem, and you can use it for your studies as well as for revision. Is it clear? So now let's begin the poem. And this poem, first you have to know that this poem has been written by Vikram Seth in 1994. And the type of the poem, I'll highlight it for you so that you can note it down. Yeah, and I would even request you to have a paper and pen, a notebook and a pen by your side so that you can take down notes whenever you want. Now, the type of poem is a fable and satire. The structure of the poem is 140 lines, and it has been written in 10-line stanzas with couplet rhyming. And the rhyme scheme of the poem is AABB. Okay, this is the rhyme scheme that Vikram Seth has followed in the poem. Clear? So now let's begin the poem. Let me open the file. 1 second. Let me share the file. The file is here. Okay, and this is where we begin. Do you want me to explain what is a fable and a satire? I'll do that. Okay. A fable is a short story that teaches you a moral lesson, and normally its characters are plants, animals, mythical creatures, and they have human qualities like the trees speak to you, the animals speak, the mythical creatures like dragons and all that. So the intention of writing that story is actually to educate, to give moral lessons. That is known as a fable. Okay. And what is a satire? A satire is you can say a literary piece of work which is normally used to either ridicule or to scorn a person, to make fun of the person, but not in the bad sense. It is not sarcasm. Okay, it is not sarcasm. You are just highlighting something which is wrong. So the aim of this poem is to mock the society. It's a satire which is targeting the societal system which is prevalent today. Here in this poem, this is the poem of a frog and a nightingale, and you know that the frog traps the innocent, the virtuous, the talented nightingale and puts an end to her art. In fact, she dies because of it also. So this is what is happening in today's world, and this is what Vikram Seth has tried to highlight through this poem, that new talent is never welcomed in the society, and critics don't give an honest opinion of anything positive. They are out for negative criticism, and they try to pull the new talent down so that they can let the old established ones are not threatened. Is it clear? So with this background, let's begin the detailed explanation of this. I will share the poem. Are you able to see the poem? Okay. Now, this poem, wait, let me adjust my screen a little. Yes. Okay. Now, this poem begins with once upon a time, a frog croaked away in Bingle Bob. I'll be You can read it on the screen. I'll be explaining it. There is no point in my repeating the lines. It will only waste time. Okay, so I'll be explaining till blared out from the sumac tree. I'll be reading out till blared out from the sumac tree. That is this line. Okay, I'll be reading till here. Now I'll be explaining till here right now. Now you see the poem begins with the same style. Once upon a time. This is how fables begin. You must have normally read once upon a time there was a frog and that way. So in this stanza, the poet is introducing a frog who lives in Bengal bog and who keeps croaking day and night. No, sorry, not croaking day and night, but croaking from night to day. Night to day. Okay, he would start croaking at night and he would continue till morning. And he didn't have a pleasant voice either. He didn't have a pleasant voice either, but he kept on and on and on. So much so that the other creatures who were living in Bengal bog, now Bengal bog is the place where the frog was living, with other creatures, that they had absolutely no choice but to listen to his annoying and rough singing, the incessant one, the continuous one. Okay, they hated him, but they tried all means and methods. They tried all means and methods to stop him, but no, it was of no avail. We will read about that further. And from this, we can understand that the frog is a very annoying creature, and a conflict has started here. You can infer from these lines that a conflict has started, and this frog used to sit at the foot of the sumac tree, and then he would keep croaking, or rather singing, from night to morning. Okay, now let's move to the next stanza. Okay, so, minstrel, yes, next we come to this. I hope it's clear. You are able to see the screen. Yes. So neither sticks, neither stones nor prayers nor sticks, insults or complaints or pricks. So now to stop the frog from his awkwardly unpleasant, rough, irritating, annoying singing, the other animals of the bog used all means that they could. They hit him with stones, sticks, bricks. They even begged him. They complained. They even prayed to God. God's sake, let this fellow go away somewhere. Or they even insulted him. But everything was in vain. This fellow frog was a constant source of irritation to everyone. But what happens is, all of a sudden, a change takes place. A change takes place. And what do you mean by stilled by the frog's determination to display his heart's elation? That means he kept on singing, thinking in his heart of hearts that he was the best of the singers. But that actually wasn't the case. At this point of time, a nightingale comes. Okay, don't worry about those yellow highlights. They are the figures of speech which I have marked out already for you, so that we don't waste time looking and searching for all the figures of speech. So I have already highlighted them. I'll be explaining that after giving you the complete explanation of this poem. So at this point, what happens is, one night a nightingale flies in and sits on the branch, on the top of the sumac tree, and sings the most beautiful song that the animals of the bog had ever heard. They had never heard of such a I mean, such beautiful song, because the only song that fell into their ears was that of the frogs. So much so that even the frog was dumbstruck and sat there gaping. What is the meaning of gaping? Sitting with mouth open, dumbstruck. So this brings in a sudden sweet note, but unfortunately, this is a bittersweet introduction into the topic. Okay, now let's move to the next page. And the next page says, yeah, okay. And in this stanza, listening to the nightingale singing, the entire bog was amazed. They never expected it. And when the nightingale ended her song, every creature of the bog, the ducks, the herons, the loons, the tiddlers, everyone moved towards the nightingale and requested her to sing more, to sing more. That they literally, it says, they wept beneath the summer moon. And how did they show their amazement? How did they show their appreciation for? By saying bravo, too divine, encore. This was the way they expressed their elation, their happiness. Okay, now, so here it says, so the nightingale once more, quite unused to such applause. Now, this is one thing which you have to understand here. The nightingale was not, we all know that nightingales actually sing very pleasantly, very sweetly. It's a well-known fact. The nightingale was not accustomed to this sort of appreciation. Why? Because wherever she used to fly, the animals, I mean, there were other animals who had their own voices and they went about their work. For them, it was a routine matter. But in the case of Binglebog, the inhabitants of Binglebog were so annoyed with the frog, with the sound, that they had never heard a nightingale before, and they never knew that somebody could sing so sweetly. This was the reason that they showered all the praise and appreciation on the nightingale, and the poor nightingale, she got flattered. She got carried away with, I mean, all the praising. Because this was the first time somebody had praised, oh, how sweetly you sing. And when they, the word encore means to repeat. That means let's have one more song. It's a term used in music. And the nightingale, poor thing, she started singing again and continued till morning. When she finished her performance in the first night, she thought, okay, fine, this is a very good place. And all the people here love me. So let me stay here and get this appreciation. Who does not want appreciation? Everybody wants appreciation. Everybody wants to be seen in a good light by everyone. So it had become morning. She started preparing for the next night. She was about to go to bed. So what she did was, she, all of a sudden, she sees, she hears a croak. She hears the sound of a croak, and then she asks, sorry, was that you who spoke? Naturally, it was a croak. It came from the frog, that frog which was sitting at the bottom of the at the foot of the sumac tree. So she asks the frog, that is, I mean, did you say something? The frog replies, wait, let me pull the page down a little. Yes. So she inquires, of the frog that, did you say something to me? And the frog says, yes, I am the owner, I am the frog who owns this tree. And in this bog, I have long been known for my splendid baritone. What is a baritone? A baritone is a quality of voice which is rich, deep, manly, heavy. To give you an example of a baritone, Amitabh Bachchan's voice. His voice is a baritone. You see how rich, deeply he speaks. I mean, everybody tries, whenever anybody has to speak anything seriously, they imitate Amitabh Bachchan. Here is an interesting piece of information for you. When Amitabh Bachchan was young, he had applied for the post of a news reader in All India Radio to read the news. And now, news readers are supposed to have good voices. He was rejected. They said, your voice is not fit for the radio. He was rejected. That was the funniest part. Then his first film was Reshma and Shera. In that, Amitabh Bachchan played the role of a dumb person. Dumb means who actually couldn't speak. His debut in films came that way, and he became famous later on for his baritone. Okay, that's just an interesting piece of information which I thought I would share with you. So now what happens here is the frog boastfully declares himself. He says, yes, I am the owner of the tree, and I am a great musician and a singer also. And he says, and of course, I wield my pen for bog trumpet now and then. What is the meaning of I wield my pen? He said it means I use my pen to write. So implying that he is a critic also. He is a critic also. Now, the moment the Nightingale heard the word critic, she was elated because everybody wants appreciation, especially from the critics who are known for their negative criticism. So what she does is, wait, let me shift the page. She asks him, did you like my song? A very normal question which anybody would ask. And so she naively asks the question that, did you like my song? And to this, the frog, who was envious inside, who was envious. So you cannot call this as, a good quality, to be envious of something. So, but reluctantly, he admitted, yeah, not too bad, but it was too long. Now he had to actually criticize, but if he starts outright criticism, the Nightingale would reject him. So he gives a positive comment, he gives a negative comment. Now you see, he says, not too bad, but far too long. He gives a positive comment, he gives a negative comment, so that the Nightingale takes it to be a true criticism. Then he goes further. The technique was fine, of course, a positive comment, but it lacked a certain force. It lacked a certain force. So again, a negative comment. Oh, the Nightingale confessed. She was hearing the positive comments, she was greatly flattered, impressed that a critic, a self-proclaimed critic, had discussed her art, her throat. Here, throat is actually a metaphor. Okay, I'll be, in case I forgot to mark it here. Okay, throat is a metaphor. Remind me when I come there. Okay, so she discusses I mean, she's very elated and she's very happy that a critic has come. And she very modestly says, very humbly and modestly says, I don't think that the song's divine, but it was my own. She doesn't say that, oh, I don't think, nay, this, we normally say, no, it was just something like that. We try to appear humble and modest. This is what the Nightingale said when is trying to be humble and modest, when she says, I don't think the song's divine, but oh well, at least it's mine. That means, yeah, it's my own singing, and this is the way I sing. So the frog, upon hearing this, what comment does he give? He says, that's not much to boast about. It's not a big thing that it's your own song. But if you take proper training, such as that means like the training I had. Okay, I'll move the picture. If you take proper training, such as the training that I had, you will not be a beginner, merely a beginner. You will also start singing as melodiously as I. Okay, so this further makes now this Nightingale, who had never heard appreciation, did not know her voice was actually good or bad, and compared to compared with what? She didn't know that. So she took all that the frog said in the right spirit and in the good sense, and the frog went on bragging that such training that you need cannot be imparted by anyone else, but only I can impart this training to you. And once you get this training and you're guided by me, you are sure, you are bound to reach the top, the pinnacle. You will be a winner. Dearest frog, now the Nightingale, again out of humbleness and modesty, says that she's very flattered. And she states, oh, frog, you are Mozart. And this whole thing is just like a fairy tale to me. What do you mean by saying that this is a fairy tale? What do you mean by this is a fairy tale? When you say this is a fairy tale is never true. So when something is too good to be true, it is known as a fairy tale. That's why we said, oh, it was a fairy tale wedding. She never expected that she would get such a handsome man, or the man never expected that he would get such a beautiful wife, right? Okay, so it's a fairy tale. Fairy tale is something where the impossible comes true. It's too good to be true. So this is what the Nightingale says. This is a fairy tale and you are Mozart in disguise. Now here she is using allusion, referring to Mozart. What do you mean by this line? And you are Mozart in disguise, come to earth before my eyes. See, here Mozart was a famous music composer who's dead now. He lived in the 19th century. Okay, he's no more. He's dead now. So, I mean, Mozart's music was so great. So great. In fact, if you watch my shorts, I always normally I prefer using Mozart's symphonies. You know, his compositions. They are very soft and melodious. Okay, so now she compares him to Mozart. No, this is fun. Now here also there is a figure of speech. When you say you are Mozart, it means you are alluding to someone. I'll discuss this in detail when I'm talking about figures of speech. So she calls him Mozart out of humbleness, out of flattery. Now here, what happens is that this frog this fellow who is one second. Let me just put this up a little. He is out to destroy her. In the process, why not let me make some money? So he says, well, I charge a modest fee. Oh, but it won't hurt, you will see. It means if I were to give you training, then I would be charging you money. It is not that I'm going to do it out of pity or gratitude or philanthropy. No, I'm not doing any such thing, but I will be charging you a modest fee. By now, the nightingale is totally in the net, in the trap of the frog. And she, I mean, you can say the poor bird, she uh, agrees. She agrees immediately without, because she didn't know what the real intention was. And the nightingale began imagining herself to be at the pinnacle to reach there and all that. So now with enhanced confidence, the nightingale, she started singing. Okay. So flushed with confidence and fired with both art and adoration, sang and was a huge sensation. Animals for miles around flocked towards the magic sound, and the frog, with great precision, counted heads and charged admission. I know this nasty frog, what he does is that when the nightingale sang that night, so all the animals collect, they were drawn to the magical sound. And this fellow, he he first went and counted, okay, how many animals have come, and then charged them admission fees. I mean, in other words, you can say he sold the tickets to the nightingale's singing. Now you see this frog, he's taking money also from her for being her mentor, her trainer. At the same time, he's collecting money also from the people, I mean, animals who are coming to listen. Such nastiness. Okay, now the next morning. Now comes the next morning. It was raining and he begins her vocal training. Now it's very difficult to sing in rain. We can sing because we sit inside houses. We are not drenched by rain, but poor animals, they get drenched by rain, so it's difficult, when you are shivering in the cold, it's very difficult to sing. And especially singers know this, they don't practice during the rainy weather because the moisture content in the air spoils the throat also. So she refuses to sing, but this was the frog's intention, that she should sing, because he was out to ruin her. Why? Because now she is the frog's competitor. This shows another quality. At the end of the poem, I will be giving you a complete character sketch of the frog and the nightingale, so that you get a very clear picture of their nature. Don't worry about that, but I've got that also lined up today. There is a mock test also, which I have put for you. I've put together a mock test also for you, of this poem. So he begins her training and he says, come on, no, don't worry. Let's start singing. He had bad intentions. And then they start singing. The poor nightingale, when forced, she starts singing. So, ku a ku a ku a ko ash. Now, so the frog and nightingale journeyed up and down the scale. Now, these lines need a little explanation. Now, this ku a was pronounced by the nightingale, and the ko ash was the frog which had joined her in the duet. That this was how he was teaching her. Now this a negative way. It was negative. I mean, this is no music at all. We all know how frogs croak. And so the frog and the nightingale journeyed up and down the scale. Now, what is the meaning of the word scale here? Scale is a term used in music for a particular tune. I'm giving you a rough meaning, a particular tune. So now the frog started teaching the nightingale how to sing, and she would say coo and he would say koash koash and coo koash koash coo, and he started teaching her. So they journeyed up and down the scale. Journeyed up and down the scale means went up the scale, came down the scale. That means they had to complete the scale, the line, isn't it? So this was how they went through back and forth, back and forth. In other words, training. And this continued for 6 hours. 6 hours in the adverse weather. The poor nightingale, she began shivering, exhausted. And this was not her natural way of singing. When you do something your natural way, you don't get stressed easily. You don't get tired easily because you love what you're doing. But now she was singing in a manner which was not a natural manner. And to add to her woes, it was raining. To further add to it, 6 hours had passed. And what was the result? By the end of it, the nightingale's throat, it grew hoarse. You know, naturally, when you sing for so long, or when you talk for so long, I mean, like being a teacher, I know when I have to teach 8 hours straight, when I return home, I don't speak at all. I don't have the energy. I have the energy to do everything except speaking. And this, I forgot to add one more thing, that she was even sleep deprived also. So now she couldn't, because she had sung the whole night. Now during the day they started practicing this, and after 6 hours, finally the frog let go of her, and the poor nightingale took some rest. As a result, what happened was by evening her throat had revived. That means she, I mean, it came back to her normal. I mean, the sound that the nightingale has. So by now, this nightingale had become quite famous. By this time, the nightingale had become quite famous, and there was huge crowd. There was a huge crowd. There were now the owl of Sandwich, the duck of taken names, just to show that the gathering had all big people. The Mallard and Milady Trent. A Mallard actually means my lord and my lady Trent, and Martin Cardinal, and the Court of Monte Cristo, referring to the Count of Monte Cristo, playing fun with it. Ladies with tiaras, glittering, sitting in the interval, and the frog was observing them glitter with a joy both sweet and bitter. Now, the sweet and bitter requires a little explanation. Everyone is there. All are very happy. The nightingale is also very happy because her throat had revived and she was able to sing. The frog was the only one who was happy and sad at the same time. Why was he happy? Because he knew that I would have to collect all the tickets, the admission fee from these guys, so I am going to make some money. That was the reason for his happiness. And why was he sad? because now he had been sidelined and the center stage was taken by the Nightingale. So his joy, or you can say his feelings, were mixed. They were bitter as well as sweet. Okay. Now, every day the frog who had sold her song, every day the frog who had sold her songs for silver tried to scold her. You must practice even longer till your voice like mine grows stronger. Now, what do you mean by who had sold her songs for silver? This is the admission fee which I'm talking about. Okay, so every day because since this has been set in old times, so at that time you had shillings and all these, they were made of real silver. So now the frog, who on one hand is selling her songs for money, is also scolding her. What is the actual intention of the frog? To earn money out of the nightingale singing, or to take the center stage and be the cynosure of everyone? It was the frog wanted the center stage. Money was not much use to him. This shows the negative power of envy. This shows the negative power of envy. So he scolded her, you must practice even longer, still more, till your voice like mine grows stronger. He calls his voice stronger. Remember, he used the word baritone for himself. A nightingale's voice is light, it's melodious, it's soft, whereas the frog's croaking is stronger. So he wanted the nightingale's voice to be equal or to resemble his voice. The moment the nightingale's voice starts resembling his voice, the nightingale is doomed, isn't it? Because then all she would do is croak. All she would do is croak. And this is what the frog wanted. This is what the frog wanted. And intentionally to subdue her, to find faults with her, what he does is he points out a defect. In the second song, last night, you got nervous in mid-flight. Here, mid-flight doesn't mean that the nightingale was flying. It's a metaphor. It says that when you were singing the second song last night, then you got nervous in the midst of it while you were singing it. He was not acting like a critic, but he was just trying to subdue the nightingale. Why he was trying to subdue the nightingale? He was trying to subdue the nightingale so that the nightingale doesn't get ideas, seeing so much crowd. Wow, this is a good thing. I can go and sing somewhere else, and these people would follow me. The frog didn't want that. So he wanted to even subdue the nightingale. That is why these lines have been written. He is trying to find faults with her singing so that she continues taking training from the frog. Such evil personality. And since this is a satire, this is how actual people in the real world are. That is why this is called a satire. That Vikram Seth is commenting on the society, pointing out, see, this evil is prevalent in the society. Beware of them. Don't be so naive, innocent as the poor nightingale recognize your own worth, people will try to put you down. Nobody, see, there is a very good saying in English. Only two people on this earth will be happy with your success. Only two people will be happy with your success. One is your father. Father means that includes your mother also. So your father and mother. So only two people on this earth will be happy with your success. One is your father and the other is your teacher. Remember that. Every year, by the end of the year, I get messages. I got messages even now. 4 or 5 of my students have been selected. One has gone into Oberoi's, one says I've gone into WIPS, one has gone into IIM Nagpur. And one girl of mine, girl means my student, she is into NLU, National Law University. Every year I have 4 or 5 toppers, so I'm very happy for that. Okay, now let's continue further. Now, and he continues subduing her. And my dear, lay on more trills. Audiences enjoy such trills. That means you are not, giving enough of your, voice. Okay. Lay on more trills and all that. So he is advising her that you are still not singing as I want you to sing. Okay. So give them something sharper. Give them something snappier. Unnecessary criticism. We must aim for better billings. You still owe me 60 shillings. So now the frog is trying to extract that fee which the nightingale has to pay him from the other animals who are coming to listen to the song. That's why he says, if you sing at this rate, nobody is going to come. Then you will have to pay me 60 shillings. Now, this further subdues the nightingale. Poor thing. Day by day, the nightingale grew more sorrowful and pale. Night on night, her tired song zipped and trilled and bounced along. Now the nightingale's voice had lost its quality because singing day by day, night by night, further her singing ruined by the frog's envy. The result was predictable. This is what happens. Till the birds and beasts grew tired at a voice so uninspired. Added to that, the nightingale was also tired. Lack of sleep deprivation, practicing during the day, listening to scoldings given by the frog, and losing her self-confidence, not having trust in herself, made her lose that charm in her voice. You always deliver your best. You always deliver your best when you are inspired. But when you're constantly put down by anyone, you're constantly put down, you ultimately lose interest. This is what happened with the nightingale. So this went on for quite some time, and the birds and beasts grew tired. They did not grow tired of the nightingale's songs, but they grew tired of the poor quality of the nightingale's songs. At her uninspiring voice and the ticket office gross crashed and she grew more morose. So when people started coming in fewer numbers, then the frog again started scolding her. No, you see, I'm not getting money. You still owe me 60 shillings. This further added burden on her. And one more thing, by now she had become accustomed to all that applause and all the appreciation and all the love and everything being shown on her, all her fans and everything. But now, and to sing into the night all alone gave no delight. See the complete scenario. Imagine the complete position of the nightingale. Constant scoldings, singing in a voice not suited to her natural voice, and sleep deprivation, fatigue, uninspired, no self-confidence, everything. The frog was slowly achieving his goal. Now the frog puffed up with rage. Brainless bird, you are on the stage. Use your wits and follow fashion. Puff your lungs out with your passion. And now the frog became more demanding. Perform, perform, perform. But how would the poor nightingale perform, given the scenario which I just explained? So, trembling, terrified to fail, blind with tears, the nightingale heard him out in silence. She tried to bring the sound out, and in the process, she burst a vein. She burst a vein. Happens. Her nerves gave away, and she died. Instead of feeling sorry, what does the frog do? The frog says, after the death of the nightingale, I tried to teach her, but she was a stupid creature. Too nervous, too tense, too prone to influence. How can he reveal the truth? This is how people are. And then he goes on further. Well, poor bird, she should have known that your song must be your own. Don't go on with anyone else. Don't go on with anyone else's song. You have to sing your own. And look at the hypocrisy of the frog, who goes about lecturing his, his own singing style. So now Binglebog was left without any competitor. The frog once again took the center stage, and the same old story started. He would again start croaking, rending his heart out from dusk to dawn. But the nightingale lost her life. Such a sad end. This is a tragedy. Now, let's take a look at the character sketch of the frog. I have mentioned all the characteristics, all the points in the description box. You can go and copy it from there. I'll be explaining it here because there is no point in my showing you the screen, though I can show you. But what you can do is you can go in the description box. I've listed out all the character sketches. I mean all the traits of the frog's character there. Make use of it for your notes. Now, the first thing that clearly comes across is that the frog is an arrogant and self-centered creature. He has an inflated sense of his own importance and talents. Okay, despite being hated by all, but he thinks, no, I am I. And so much so that if you read the first stanza where that sticks, stones, insults, praying, in spite of all that, he is not ready to change his ways or stop singing. Doesn't this show arrogance and self-centeredness? And then he adds, I am the frog who owns this tree. In this bog, I have long been known for my splendid baritone. This is his opinion of himself. What is it? Isn't this arrogance and self-centeredness? Next, the next trait of his that clearly comes across is that he is manipulative and exploitative. The moment he recognizes the Nightingale's talent, he plays a double game. Earn money as well as destroy the competitor. So he manipulates the Nightingale by convincing her that she needs guidance to become a good singer and also charges her for it. And the truth is, he himself had no skills to offer. That's why he says, you will remain a mere beginner, but with me, you will be a winner. Next, jealous, insecure. Why jealous? Because of the difference in their voices. His own inadequacy at singing. So instead of raising his own standards, he lowers the other. This is how people today rise in the world. When a talented person comes, you must have heard that analogy of you draw a line and can you make this line shorter without erasing any part of it? Very simple, draw a longer line. This becomes shorter. Isn't it? But people don't try to raise their own standards to match the standards of the other. They try to kill, destroy, subdue the other. This is a negative way of rising. What happens is talent is also destroyed, and at the same time, you don't gain anything. These are the messages that this poem gives. This character sketch of the frog and the nightingale, which I'm drawing for you, are actually the central themes of this poem. The messages being given out of the, the messages being given by the poet, the inferences being drawn. So jealous and insecure. Next, insensitive. Yes, the nightingale's poor condition did not move him. Insensitive. He knew what he was doing. He knew that she would be harmed. In spite of that, he went ahead. Callous. Not caring. Making her practice incessantly, depriving her of sleep, destroying her self-confidence, her happiness, everything. Worst of all, hypocritical. See his hypocrisy? He himself doesn't know how to sing, but comes across as a critic and portrays himself as a critic. And when the poor Nightingale dies, what does he do? What does he do at that time? Oh, she should have stuck to her own style. This is she was too sensitive. She was too this. I mean, you are the real person culprit. So hypocritical and deceptive. Deceptive. Why deception is here? Because posing deception means to pose as someone who you actually are not. So he poses himself as the owner of the tree. He poses himself as a great critic, as a great singer, a great musician, and so on. Ruthless and uncompassionate. No compassion. Ruthless. In spite of knowing that what he's doing is going to kill the poor, continues. Ruthless and uncompassionate. Desire for power and control. Yes, he wanted the center stage. He wanted the Nightingale to die because who is she to take my position and to have full control over her? That is why destroying her self-confidence by pointing out the flaws in her perfect singing. The fear of becoming irrelevant. Yes, you can add this also. Because he had become irrelevant. The moment the Nightingale sang, who paid any attention to the frog? No one. This insecurity, this fear of becoming irrelevant forced him to kill the Nightingale. And finally, he is a symbol of mediocrity. He suppresses the true talent to maintain his mediocrity. Like I said earlier, that nobody wants to rise in life. They want to pull down the or push down the other so that they retain their position. So the frog is a symbol of mediocrity. I've given all these points in the description box. Note it down from there. Okay. Now let's look at the character sketch of the Nightingale. The first word that comes to mind is innocent and naive. Pure, unsuspecting. Doesn't suspect or that the frog is up to something mischievous. This shows her trusting nature. This shows her lack of worldly experience. So much so that she compares his croaking to that of Mozart's. Such an innocent and naive character. Talented and passionate. That was the result. She was talented. She had a very melodious voice. But the problem was she didn't know that she had a melodious voice. And this led to her downfall. So never be ignorant of your own talents. Always know what you can do. And when you come across something that you cannot do, develop it. Develop it. People always look. Oh, Three Idiots film, there was a very good dialogue, which that professor says, everybody knows the name of the winner. Nobody knows the name of the person who came second. That is the truth. So she was talented, but she did not know it. She was passionate. That is why she could sing. Had she been allowed to sing all night in the manner she wanted, she would never have died. Because as I said earlier, that when you do something you love, You never get tired. I teach from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. I don't get tired. I love teaching. It's very simple. Modest and humble. Yes, she is modest. She doesn't praise her own. She says, I don't know them about my song. I don't think my song's divine, and but I know it's mine. That's all. That shows her humbleness. That shows that she is modest. And she next, eager to please. Why eager to please? That when the frog points out irrelevant, unnecessary flaws in her singing, she doesn't apply her mind that, oh no, what he's saying is wrong. What she does instead is, what does she do instead? She tries to please him. So eager to please. Trusting and gullible. Yeah, too trusting. She trusted the frog. A victim of exploitation. You will naturally become a victim of exploitation. I've given these character traits of the Nightingale in the description box. You can copy it from there. And based on this entire chapter that we have discussed so far, you can easily write these, you can elaborate on these points. If you still are facing any problem, you can either post it in the comments or you could send an email to me. I'll answer it. Okay. If you have any doubts, any questions or anything else that you want to ask, you can do that. Now let's go take a look at the figures of speech that we have got here. I won't be explaining all the figures of speech here, because when the video becomes too long, I'll just say that this is this, this is this, this is this. But what you can do is, I'll mark it out for you. You can note it down. I will give you time for noting it down. You could pause my video, and then you could even do it that way also. Okay, so now let's take a look at the figures of speech. Yes. This takes a little time to come. Okay, the first figure of speech that clearly comes to mind is once. Now, look at this sentence. There is enjambment here. Enjambment. Okay, the figure of speech here is enjambment. Once upon a time, a frog croaked away in Bingle Bog. When a complete sentence runs into two or more lines, that is known as enjambment. Do you want me to write it down here? I can write it down also. This figure of speech. It is, one second, I'll write it down. ENJAMBMENT. This figure of speech is known as enjambment. Okay, and so now, once upon a time, a frog croaked away in Bingle Bog. So this figure of speech is enjambment. Croaked is an onomatopoeia. What is an onomatopoeia? You want the spelling of onomatopoeia also? Okay, I'll give it to you. 1 second. This is a very tricky spelling of onomatopoeia. Okay, it is, yeah, ONOMATOPEIA, onomatopoeia. Okay. What is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is where a sound is turned into a word. For example, the mooing of a cow. Moo. How does a cow, what sound does a cow make? Moo. So the hiss of a snake. So they made a sound hiss. That figure of speech is known as onomatopoeia. Bingle bog is an alliteration. You can see clearly Bingle bog is an alliteration. Dusk to dawn can be called an alliteration also, but it is an antithesis also. Antithesis is used when two opposite, not opposite, two, you can say contrasting words are words or sentences are placed next to each other. So you could note down this word is antithesis. Dusk to dawn is antithesis. Do you want me to write down these difficult words? Which, or I've not written them down because normally antithesis, antithesis. Okay, this dusk to dawn is an antithesis. On and on and on is a repetition. The word is being repeated. Again, see, every night from dusk to dawn, he croaked on and on and on. This is one single sentence which is running into two lines, breaking across. So this is known as enjambment. Clear? So enjambment you can figure out everywhere. Enjambment is very easy to spot. Now, here when you say other creatures, again, enjambment is there here. It continues. Crass cacophony is an alliteration. Blared out from the sumac tree. Now, this blared out from the sumac tree is known as a transferred epithet. Okay, it is a transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is something which I have, I'll be explaining it in a video of mine. It's in the process, should be out by tomorrow evening. Transferred epithet. Okay. So you are aware I've started this channel new and I'm still in the process of building the library. So please bear with me. I will put up a video of all the figures of speech. So far I've put about simile, metaphor and hyperbole. These three go in one class. So then you can find it in my playlists. So this is a blared out is a transferred epithet. Morning night is an antithesis. And then neither stones nor sticks, insults or complaints or pricks, till the frog's determination is a continuing sentence. So enjambment, okay, his hearts is an alliteration. What you could do is you could underline it in your textbook. All these you could underline and then you could, write it out once again by reviewing. Again, here enjambment is there. Now, but one night a nightingale in the moonlight cold and pale perched upon the sumac tree, casting forth her melody. Now, this is imagery. It creates an image in your mind. Okay, so this figure of speech is known as imagery. Okay, clearly. Now, dumb stuck sat the gaping frog. This sentence is personification. Frogs don't get dumb stuck. Okay, it's a human quality which has been attributed to the frog. So dumb stuck is personification. Wait, let me erase this. Okay, dumb stuck is personification. Again, here you have enjambment. Admiring bog is a transferred epithet. I've given you the spelling. Admiring bog is a transferred epithet. And ducks had swum and herons waded. Now, this again is imagery. Ducks had swum and herons waded to her as she serenaded. So this creates an image in your mind. So this figure of speech here is imagery going on. Toads and teals and tiddlers is an alliteration. Clearly, you can see it's an alliteration. and then you have this, you see, enjambment is found almost everywhere. Read a sentence and see if it continues into the next line, then enjambment is present. Okay, so next night, again, next night is an alliteration. We can include Nightingale also, and yes, alliteration can have words in between. So next night, Nightingale is an alliteration, which her tail is an alliteration. Croc here is onomatopoeia. Okay, and then the word baritone here is an irony. It is being used in an ironical sense that the frog has such a lousy voice and he calls it a baritone. So the figure of speech here, the word baritone has been used ironically. And of course, I wield my pen is again personification, because frogs cannot write, humans can write. So this quality has been attributed. So I wield my pen here. Here is personification. Did you is repetition. This figure of speech is repetition. And one second, let it just, it's a bit big. Bad, but you can call it an alliteration, no problem. Okay, and here I couldn't find it. I mean, I've just pointed out the prominent ones. Okay, yeah, this is a fairy tale, which again I say is an imagery going on here. Sorry, this is a metaphor going on here, because you're calling this is a fairy tale, and you are Mozart in disguise, come to earth before my eyes. So she's calling this situation as a fairy tale. Okay, so this is a metaphor. She is comparing that. And when she says you are Mozart in disguise, there are two figures of speech involved here. One, you are Mozart is a metaphor. Clear metaphor. What is a metaphor? I have explained in my video. You can go there and you will understand why this is a metaphor. So you are Mozart is a metaphor, and it also, one second, it also is an illusion. Illusion. The spelling is Allusion. Illusion is something which you refer to in context. For example, I'll just give you a very simple example. You are doing something in your say in your lab, or you are doing something, and somebody comes up and says to you, hey, so you're trying to be an Einstein, huh? He has alluded to Einstein. This is known as illusion. Or they say, who do you think you are? Are you an Einstein? Or are you Hitler? Now, for understanding this, you have to know who Hitler was. You have to know that. So, you are alluding to someone. We say it in Hindi also, isn't it? ये तो ऐसे मार रहा है जैसे बहुत बड़ा अर्जुन है ये. युधिष्ठिर की तरह बोल रहा है. That we know who Arjun is, we know who Yudhishthir is. That figure of speech is known as illusion, discussed there. Okay, next, let me erase this, and then we can go further. Now the Nightingale is an alliteration, and he began her. You can call he, her, alliteration. Scarf and sash, alliteration. Sa, Kuash, Kua, Koash, Kuash. This is a repetition. You have a repetition here, as well as it is onomatopoeia also, because such words don't exist in the dictionary. Because this was the sound they made, and That is what has been written here. So this is known as an onomatopoeia. Journeyed up and down is an antithesis. Okay. And she shivering, sh, alliteration. Subdued sleep, alliteration. Now, this malad and milady, again, this is an alliteration. This court of Monte Cristo actually is an allusion. It is referring to the Count of Monte Cristo, a very famous novel written by Alexandre Dumas. So, I mean, the poet has put in just to show that many big personalities had come to hear the nightingale sing. Now, ladies with tiaras glittering in the interval sat twittering, and the frog observed them with glitter, with a joy. Now, this ladies with tiaras and the ladies with tiara glittering in the interval sat twittering is imagery. It creates an image in your mind where you can imagine the ladies sitting and chatting among themselves, twittering. Here is onomatopoeia because this is a sound produced by the crowd. Okay, songs for silver is alliteration. Second song is an alliteration, and then must make is an alliteration. Something sharper, snappier is not an alliteration. No. Why? Sa, something, sha, sa, but snap. So something sharper, snappier. You can call something snappier as an alliteration, but don't use sharper in it because the sound is different. Better billings is an alliteration. 60 shillings is an alliteration. Sa, day by day. This is repetition. Okay. Night on night. This is a repetition. Okay. And one second. Yes. Birds and beasts is an alliteration. More morose is an alliteration. Brain bird is an alliteration. Terrified, trembling, terrified. Call it an alliteration. Try to teach is an alliteration. Far too, far too, far too. That's come 3 times. There are 2 figures of speech involved here. One is repetition, far too, etc. Second, you see, the same words, far too, also begin the next line. So when you have two or more consecutive lines beginning with the same word, then that figure of speech is known as anaphora. So far too, both of them are referring to, both the lines begin with the same words. So this is known as anaphora. It has to be consecutive. Nothing in between. And this far too and this far too will be called a repetition. Okay. Next. Let me erase this. She should, alliteration. Again, ash is onomatopoeia. Foghorn of the frog. You can call it alliteration. Okay. So with this, we finish the figures of speech also, and we are through with this. One second. Yes, we are through with this poem. I hope you have been able to understand it in great detail. And if you still have any doubts or any questions, you may post it in the comments, or you may write, shoot me an email. My email ID is given in the description box, and in the description box, you will also find a mock test. answer those questions. And if you face any problem, I'm always there. Thank you. God bless you.